Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it is time for a bicep day, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please hit like down below, please follow, please subscribe, and comment down below also. It would be greatly appreciated. So what I'm doing, for those who are unaware, I have a bicep day in the middle of my week. I'm back to doing conjugate, focusing really on the powerlifting side, but that also means tons of accessory work. But I also need to bodybuild the heck out of my biceps, because they're still kind of my weakest body part. They need to come up. And so I'm doing a bicep day in the middle of the week, and I think I'm about to rotate back to throw in a second bicep day in Saturday morning. So then I have 4 days of pretty much power training and then 2 bodybuilding bicep days every week. So again, bring those guns up. So also one of the things I've noticed here is the number of sets. I've noticed I peter out at about 12 sets. I try to do sometimes 15, 20 or more in one workout, but I've noticed even when I do the band curls, I can count those reps, and I know that I drop way down under 20 reps if I try to do 15 to 20 sets. The performance degrades, which means we're into junk volume. So I'm probably better off getting a second exposure, because I'm not really growing from those sets at that point. Once you're losing 5+ reps on anything from where you're completely fresh, it's junk volume, flat out. So I started off with weighted chins, and there's a point where I'm just like, I try to do all of them from a dead hang. I'm not going to argue with people about my range of motion, my elbows, any of that anymore, because I just don't care. It's very obvious that is my dead hang, and people don't like it, they can piss off. So I decided to change things a little bit today. I'm going to rotate through different bicep movements, because if I'm going to do moderate volume, moderately high volume twice a week, I dang well better be rotating movements to avoid overuse. So I decided today, obviously we're going to focus on the supine stuff, and then after that I just went with things that are going to be low impact on the tendons and stretch. So last time I know I focused a lot on the alternating dumbbell curls. I did incline curls, preacher curls. Like today, let's just really get in and hit these locked in supine positions. Okay, so we did weighted chins from a dead hang, and then I did really strict barbell curls. Now I adjusted the grip this first set. I mean, I know that it looks a little better if I go wide, but I feel more bicep activation if I bring it in a little closer. So I kind of want to experiment. And the same thing with these. People will stand there and go, this is why you don't listen to people. I need to focus on, am I feeling the muscle burn? Am I getting quality sets? You know, people are like, oh, you're still going so light on those barbell curls. And then I start cheat curling if I listen to anybody. There's a point you have to block that noise out and go, you know what? If I'm stuck at 10, 11, 12 reps for a little bit while going super, super strict, but I'm taking the sets, and the third set I went to failure, by the way, right? So we know that these are limit sets, because the first 2 I squeezed 12, it slowed down. Then on the third set, I tried to get a 13th rep, and I failed the rep. So these were 1 to 0 reps in reserve, right? And that's pretty much what we want. If we're going there and we've already got the tension from the weighted chins, I could argue I might be going too heavy on the weighted chins, you know, because I'm kind of, when I'm doing the dead hang, you know, I'm struggling a little bit to get those fives in. We could make the case that I may want to reduce the weight, and I don't want to go under 45 pounds to go to 25, but I'm going to have to think about, do I need to, or do I want to say, hey, this is the one heavy movement my biceps get? Because all my other body parts, they get some really heavy movements from the powerlifting. My biceps really don't. So I could also argue, look, maybe it'll be the one thing I get some tension on, and that's okay. You know, 5 reps isn't really that bad. That is something, though, I tell people, though, for a lot of your supplemental work, if you're maxing out, you're not getting much neural drive or any of that out of doing 5. You're really not. But the only thing to remember, my biceps don't get any heavy work, because all the maxing I'm doing is benching, squatting, deadlifting, good morning variations. Okay. Well, the biceps aren't really getting a heavy load anywhere, because I'm doing all this pump work. So it's probably the one thing I'd be permissible on. So what do we do for the rest of the workout? Well, I managed to get 12s on those. The same thing here. I knew that if I do these fairly fresh, I can get 10+ reps with 70 pounds on this. If I do this as like a 4th exercise, and I've already done like 12 sets, these go down real fast. I can't handle this. So I'm like, let's go ahead and make sure the brachialis gets a little work. We did a nice slightly wider grip with the straight bar. And so now I'll use the easy bar. We'll get a little bit of brachialis in there, right? A little bit more forearm. That's where the easy bar shines. The straight bar is technically going to hit the bicep itself a hair harder. But if we want to then go behind, because we did a big compound locked into a supine with a chin, and then we did the barbell locked into a supine as a single joint. So then we can come in and we can take the easy bar, and this is a very different grip, even though it's still standing, still the same idea. We bring that grip in. We also have the camber in there so that it puts us at an angle. It's going to work a little more brachialis. So we can do this in place of the other stuff. Keeping in mind all my pulling throughout the week is overhand grip. I get a lot of barbell and dumbbell rows through the week. So that also does work all of that area extremely well. If I get 12 plus sets of rows, my brachialis, radial brachialis, all that's getting hit pretty hard. So I don't have to give it a lot of attention on bicep days, although I do sometimes, right? Because we do those curls where we start in a hammer position and then supinate them up. But then I did that. That gave me 9 solid sets, right, in the 5 to 12 rep range. And I'm like, now we burn them out with the band curls. So why do we do the band curls? I like to do them as a finisher. One, it lets me get a lot of blood flow. It lets me get a big pump at the end because, we definitely get a pump from those 12s. So then again, it lets me come in and just burn the biceps out. Let's get blood flow to them. Let's get some tension at the peak, because those others, if you look at those, they're not always going to hit the peak contraction as much. The bands force us into that, and then we get that eccentric. What else is it? Soft tissue benefits. So high rep band work is great for building tendons up. So again, if I can get those bicep tendons stronger, I hope that maybe even that'll eventually help with my lockout situation. I don't know that it ever will, but it's certainly worth a try. Let's continue to just build the tendons of the elbow, build the tendon health, also help me be a little more resistant to bicep tears on the deadlift, right? So we build the tendons, we get blood flow, and we just pump the hell out of the biceps after doing the heavier and then lighter work. And that's the idea. Just pump, 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 and then I take these to failure. These sets are all to failure at the end. The others are mostly like about 1 to 2 reps in reserve, usually 1. I did do 1 failure set with the barbell. And then these, I just take them to failure. Take them to failure, just be done with it. I try to strain. You guys notice I strain on that last rep, and then I just can't get another one. That's usually how I do it. But yeah, I like to finish with these. I feel a lot from them. I feel they have multiple benefits, and it's a completely different strength curve than everything else I do. So again, hitting those different angles, rotating through them, this is what we needed to do to bring stuff up. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.